This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bonini, and these are your headlines. A senior police officer kills and it creates a firestorm. A man pours boiling water on his wife, and yet another kills his wife by strangulation. And dengue fever. You don't know nothing about it, but I will explain all that at the end of the show. Firstly, it's a headline story, and man, oh man, oh man, this one started a firestorm that rattled the very corridors of power. But what was it that ignited the storm? Well, it was yet another death on the capital's roads by yet another drunk driver. But this time, he was someone a bit different. The headline read, "Man responsible for deadly daytime drunk driving in Phnom Penh named as Police Lieutenant Colonel." Yes, quite amazingly, it was a lieutenant colonel in the police force that killed an innocent man. The very senior police officer has been named as Mr. Hun Heng, and it was not just the fact that he was driving at speed whilst drunk in the middle of the day, and he managed to kill a man. He also managed to injure several others as his car ploughed into 3 rickshaws, 1 other car, and a motorcycle, causing not only death, but extensive damage. The news of this high-profile accident went galloping across social media like a wild horse on steroids. And the response by the government was just as fast, as this headline appeared very soon after. PM urges public to trust Cambodian justice system. As well as this one. PM urges the police to trust judiciary system following case of police officer in fatal crash. And the PM did all he could to dampen the flames of the controversy. Within just 24 hours, the Lieutenant Colonel was stripped of his title and was taken into court to be charged. And the PM himself stepped in, saying, "A case where someone crashes and kills another person cannot simply be resolved by offering compensation and walking away free." He also not only stated he is closely monitoring this case, but he reiterated that even government officials must be held accountable under the law when involved in accidents. This case caused huge interest in yet another death by drinking and driving. And maybe its high-profile nature has lowered the bar yet again as to what is acceptable on the kingdom's road. Drink driving is very prevalent, but how long will it be before not only fines are implemented for drink drivers, but driving bans and revoked licenses, as well as more jail sentences? On this week's Crime Desk, we have a man who beats his wife to death and another who mutilates his wife with boiling water. Also, there's the case of the 3 men who are cop killers. Firstly, we kick off with 2 cases of spousal abuse. The first headline read, "Jealous man arrested for murdering wife and stealing her possessions." Bakan District Police in Pasat Province have arrested a man for allegedly strangling his wife to death and then dumping her body into a pond near a rice field. The murder occurred in Kampong Kidi village, Bakan District, and this tale of green eyes and of murder began with Facebook. Yep. Yet again, dear old Facebook at the heart of another news story. It seems that the husband in this case believed his wife was having an affair with a younger man, one that she had met on that social media platform. This had led to violent rows, so much so that the wife had had enough of those rows and said to the husband she wanted a divorce. Finally, the husband and wife agreed to go to the local court to file for that divorce. But if the wife thought it was all over, she was very wrong, as what was raging in her husband's heart was murderous anger. After the trip to the court, the husband requested his wife go with him to a nearby village for dinner. She agreed, in an attempt to make this divorce proceedings as amicable as possible. What she did not know was that would be her final meal. After they ate, the wife and the husband set off home. The night was extremely dark and all was still. But on the journey home, the husband stopped the bike on an empty road. He then dragged his wife off the bike. He clamped his hands around her throat, and oh so slowly, he strangled her to death. When her lifeless body fell to the ground, he administered the final insult and robbed her of all her valuable possessions, and he then dragged her by her feet. He dragged the corpse over a field and dumped it in a murky pond. The decaying body was discovered 3 days later, rotting due to the intense heat. And it was not long before police made their arrest. And now the jealous husband faces a very lengthy prison sentence. All because he couldn't come to the terms that his marriage had died. Now, if a robbing and a murdering your wife is bad, so is this. It's yet more spousal abuse. And I'm very sorry to say, that violence against women in Cambodia is a serious problem. When I travel in the countryside, I see signs by the side of the road. Those signs depict a simple image of a man hitting a woman. And through that image is a big red cross. These signs are for rural women, saying if you're getting abused by your spouse, then go and get help from the police. And this next case amplifies how bad it can get. The headline read, "Man arrested after attacking wife with mortar and pestle and boiling water." A man has been arrested after an extremely violent episode of domestic abuse, one that left his wife with very serious injuries. The chief of Boang Kang Seng Sankrat said late one evening last week, a Mr. Kian, aged 32, was arrested by police after a very serious assault on his wife. It is stated that the husband came home at 1 o'clock in the morning and he was extremely drunk. He very quickly got into a row with his wife, and what he did next defies belief. He beat his wife violently, using a large wooden bowl. He then clubbed her repeatedly about the head. But this was not enough, as he then stabbed her. The woman, battered and bruised on the floor, was petrified. She looked up, and what she saw was horrifying, as her husband then got a pot of boiling water and poured it all over her body. The woman's skin blistered and curled as she screamed out in agony. She writhed in pain, but the enraged husband held her hostage, and he threatened her that if she tried to leave, he would stab her again. Eventually, the husband was worn out, and the effects of alcohol wore off, and he fell into a deep sleep. It was then the wife made her escape. The husband was very soon detained by the police, and this evil man now awaits a trial date. In those last two cases we featured this week, we had violence against women, one that led to death, and of course, it was the police that had to come to the scene of the crime to unravel the case. But in this next case, we have the police themselves under attack, and one officer died. The headline read, 3 men charged with killing police officer. This is, in fact, a follow-up on a case we featured a few weeks ago. An incident when a police officer, a second lieutenant, was fatally injured in a karaoke bar in Bayer, district. The police officer and his friends had visited the karaoke bar, and all had gone extremely well. That was until they tried to leave. When they did, the owner of the bar and his brother, as well as another member of staff, stopped the group, saying that they had not paid their bill. And the owner said they owed further money as one of the group, he said, had had sex with a waitress. The group denied all of this. Now, just to pause for a moment here. This is normal in these kind of bars. I mean, anywhere in the world. It's always the same. In Soho, London, the red light district of London, you can order one drink in a bar and be told by frighteningly large men that you in fact had 5 drinks and you better pay up. It's a really common scam. And so it seems this was the case with the police officer. But he and his friends fought back. But the situation was to spin out of control when the owner's brother pulled out a knife and stabbed the police officer to death. That policeman was just 26 years old. As of now, the owner of the club and his 2 cohorts have been booked, and it has been said they now face prison terms of up to 15 years each for the murder. And this week we finish with something that you know. But trust me, you don't know jack. Most are really very clueless as to how bad dengue fever really is or how far it now reaches. The headline said, Antimosquito action continues in Phnom Penh. A tepid headline from our newsroom, but behind it is so much more. Eradication efforts against mosquitoes have continued in Phnom Penh following a rise in dengue fever cases. And it's not just Cambodia. Have a look at this. It's a map of countries that are now affected by dengue. And it is fundamentally all the world. As of March 2023, dengue is endemic in over 100 countries, with cases reported in every single continent on Earth, with the exception of Antarctica. Crikey. Now keep your eye on that map. That band of red, orange and yellow is all dengue, and the reason it's not at the top and the bottom where the map is green is only because nobody lives there. Dengue is now simply everywhere, and it is spreading. It is difficult to estimate the full extent of this disease, as many cases are mild and not correctly diagnosed. But the WHO currently estimates, and wait for it, nearly 4 billion people are at risk of dengue infection. And it is estimated that 400 million dengue infections occur every year. And that leads to tens of thousands of deaths. And it is marching its way across the globe. The first confirmed symptomatic case of locally acquired dengue, that is to say, not caught whilst travelling, within the United States was identified in California in October of 2023. Yep, dengue has landed in the USA. But the first ever recorded case was in a Chinese medical book from the Jin dynasty, all the way back in the year 266 AD, which referred to it as water poison associated with flying insects. Dengue has been with us through history, and now it's more virulent than ever before. And it's increasingly tied to this mosquito, the Aedes mosquito. And this little bastard is much stronger and much better adapted to spread the disease. Worst of all, it flies further. And it ain't just America with dengue, as 8 outbreaks have now hit Italy, Croatia, France and Spain. Cases are on the rise. And even Switzerland, which, by the way, I only typed into the web as a joke, only to discover that even Switzerland can't fend off this mozzie, no matter how much looted gold or delicious chocolate you have. And with the recent increase in cases here in the kingdom, it seems that dengue fever is laying siege not only to the 855, but the entire world. It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week.
And here we are at the weather, and as always, we have a photo of the week. Now, what I actually want to talk about is this. It's a lady. Whoa! I've got a date. I've got a date on Saturday. My first date in 5 years. Don't worry, I'm never lonely. Remember, I've got a hamster. But hopefully, I'll tell you more about my top date next week. Tune in for that. So we're going to slide that to one side for now and have a look at this. And this is the photo of the week. And it's my bicycle out in the countryside. Now, this is a huge empty riverbed that will soon fill with water, and I've actually explored around here and found ancient pottery and stuff. So if you're feeling a bit depressed and stuff, get out. I'm telling you, it's the best cure. I do 70 kilometers a ride overland, and it does me the world of good. So now we get to the weather. Oh gosh, what a time for me not be able to get it up. What with that date and everything. Hold on, if I give it a tickle and hey, there it goes, it's popped up. And what do we see? We see there is pretty much rain across the board, but it's better than last week. We do have a couple of days that are rain free. The high temperature, as I scan across, it tells me it's 90 degrees and the humidity is down a smidge. It's at 81%.
This has been the Khmer Times News. Please do subscribe and comment and stay up to date with all the breaking news by following us on both Facebook and Telegram. This has been Paolo Bonini, and that was the week that was. I'll see you next weekend for your weekly Roundup.